Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear student, how life is? Hope God blessing in all of our ways. Amen. First of all, I want to know how is your feeling join CCU class? Yes, of course, it was very interesting. Today, we will continuing our materials in the third meeting to talk about the basic concepts of culture. Since culture is the main issues discussing in cross-cultural understanding, we have to know everything related to the culture. This topic will be divided into two main aspects. In this third meeting, we are going to talk about definition, aspect, and components of culture. And about the characteristic, function, and elements of culture will be go through the fourth meeting. Now, first of all, we have to know what is culture. There are some definitions mentioned to give a point of view related to the culture. First, Machine et al. 2009 defining culture as the ways of life of its members, the collections of ideas and the habit which they learn, share, and transmit from generation to generation. In this point, culture is defined as ways of life, collections of ideas or habits, and that is need to be learned, shared, and transmit and in a certain community. Other definition proposed by Sarifan and Palmer 2007, he argued that culture as the design for living, which give meaning to the way and the forms of habits considered appropriate and acceptable within a certain group of community. In different point of view, Peoples and Bailey 2009 argue that culture as belief, art, morals, law, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as members of a society. In this point of view, culture is all about knowledge, belief, art, moral, law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits. And the last, Taga at 1999 proposed a definition of culture as a social heredity transmitted from one generation with the accumulation in individual experiences or a mode of activities differentiating people of one society from another one. Taga tend to underline a culture as a social heredity resulted from experience, activities that differentiating people of one society from another. And I think it is almost the same with the ways of life. From all definitions proposed, we can underline some word which is in each definition indicated the same characteristics of culture. Culture is something learned, shared, and owned together. And now, I'm curious to know what is definitions of culture according to you. Yes, you have to define your own based on some definition mentioned earlier. Now go on to the aspects of culture. As what we have discussed earlier, we can underline the culture through its aspects. Culture is a pattern of behavior, culture is learned, and culture is transmitted from one generation to the next. And what about culture is learned? Yes, culture is learned. It can be through enculturation and acculturation. Enculturation is acquisition of one's own culture. It is need for survival, and it is the prerequisite of familiarization to particular culture. And acculturation is amalgamation of two cultures. It is not requirement for survival, and it is way to familiarization of various cultures. The next, culture is transmitted, not only a pattern of behavior and must be learned. Culture is transmitted from one generation to the next. Can you guess what is he doing? Yes, right. The old man showing the way to make a fire traditionally. It is one of the examples that culture is learned and transmitted from one generation to the next. Now, go on to the components of culture. Yes, in a certain culture has three basic components. They are cognitive, materials, and normative components. The basic components of any culture is related to people's knowledge about the universe creation and existence. This aspect is based on either people's observation or on certain factual evidence that they have. Let us differentiate the ways of generation to generation understanding this universe. An individual of a backward society believes in gods, superstition, and other objects as a part of their cognitive aspects. But in a technological advanced society, the cognitive aspect is based on scientific experiments and their application. In other way, cognitive component of an advanced society culture is quite distinct from that of a primitive one because of the refinement of knowledge through systematic testing and observation. So which one do you prefer? It is indicating you are. Of course, now we are in a technological advanced society. Another important component of any given culture is the material features of society. It consists of all the tangible things that human beings make, use, and give value to the material component, and it varies from culture to culture. It is based on technological state that society has achieved and understood. The other important component of culture is the normative component. The normative component is composed of society's values and norms which guides and regulate behaviors. In other words, it consists of the values, beliefs, and rules by which society directs people's interaction. Understanding culture means understanding its values. Values are shared standards of acceptable and unacceptable, good and bad, desirable and undesirable. Values are abstract, very general concepts that are expressed by norms, and norms are rules and guidelines setting forth proper attitude and behavior for specific situations. Okay, student, can you catch my point? Of course, you can understanding more by reading and finding another learning sources. For more reading, you can surfing the link and make some note after reading. That is all for our third meeting. See you in the fourth meeting with more challenging topics. Have a quality learning time and see you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.